Good night, all. You are watching or listening to The Glenn Lall Show.
I've learned over the years in the oil sector, and like my moderator said, we'll be talking about local content. What is local content and what it means to you and for you? Local content, you get it? Local content simply means locals must benefit first and foremost in the oil sector and in every extractive sector we have. Locals must at all times get first preferences. Local content means which we don't have a local content policy or a local content paper that is strong enough to look out for your best interests. It's all about locals benefiting by way of goods and services being rendered to the oil sector. Are we being treated equally? Are we being given the first preference in this oil sector? I can tell you off the bat, no, no, no. We have not. And it aches me at times when I see and listen our leaders talk about modernization of Guyana and taking Guyana places now for our interests. Locals, giving locals the first opportunity to grab on the services provided to the oil companies. For example, I can jump into the transportation services being rendered or offered. Almost every night I sit in front of Kaieteur News and I can see hundreds of container trucks fetching these pipes and other stuff. Who is getting those jobs? Is it locals? When you wouldn't want to hear the money Guyana is paying for each truckload that passes and goes to Houston. It is humongous. It is unbelievable. Where is the local content? Who is looking out for our interests? Is our government authorizing foreign companies to come into Guyana and take away what we should be getting, what the locals should be getting? Glenn Lall would love to buy 50 trucks tomorrow morning and put it on the road to get those same jobs. My colleague here, Shakima, would like to do the same thing. Kemol King would like to do the same thing. But guess what, Guyana? Our locals are not being treated fairly, not only by the oil companies, but by our government. And this has happened with the past government and the present administration. You don't want to know the price they're paying. I am told that these people are paying $70 per hour for each truck. That's $14,000 per hour for one of these trucks to transport these pipes. Now, when you do the maths, anybody with a truck would love to work with these people. You understand what I'm saying, Shakima?
Understood.
Come on.
Yes,
Would
sir.
you want to have a business like that?
Yes, I would.
Of course, everybody wants to have a business like that. But it's not given to us as Guyanese. It's given to foreign companies that coming in here and are given tax-free, duty-free and concessions galore to bring in this thing. I sent a video a few weeks ago to some of our political leaders in which a Trinidadian company came here, another one, with a fleet of trucks. Now, come on, man. Come on. Guyanese can do that. Give us the opportunity. Where is this local content that we talk about? But back to the price. The price that we're paying $70 an hour for these trucks to run. Imagine that's $14,000 for 10 minutes work with a truck. Juxtapose that to a truckload sand from Timeri to Georgetown, where these guys take 2 hours to bring a load, and it's just over $100. I am told that the locals that are doing the same business, some of them, who are working alongside these foreign companies, they are being paid. Sorry, I made a huge mistake there. The locals are being paid $70 an hour, and the Triple D is being paid $125,000 an hour for their trucks. Same trucks, same work, same everything. What you say about that, moderator?
I'd say there's an inequality.
The foreigners are benefiting and Guyanese are left to suffer.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's only on the trucking services that comes under this local content in which Guyana should be the benefit. We have the helicopters at Ogle. If anyone have the chance to go to Ogle, or if you pass through Ogle, you will see that there is a helicopter service run by a foreign company. Every 15 minutes, one of these helicopters take off from there. Now, Guyanese should be the ones offering those services. Are you listening to me, Guyana? Guyanese, locals, we should have been the ones providing those services. Instead, a foreign company kicks in here and the oil companies are giving them the business. Where is our leaders? Where is our government? Who is authorizing these things? Of course, men like Jerry Govaya and Maserali, BK, a ton of other local air services people should be given that opportunity, should be given those jobs. Rather they're allowing the local content that we're supposed to be raking in a few pennies to go to foreigners. So what is there for you, Guyana? Basically nothing. You know, I was flying into Latam and I saw that and I questioned that. When these guys come out from the oil rig, there's special transportation provided to them. I don't know who's providing the services for them, if it's another foreign company. What I do know is that when I chat with the taxi service there that providing service at Ogle, these guys say we don't get no work. Those guys prefer to stand up there and wait. And they don't get no work. They cannot use the local taxis. What kind of crap is this? Are you listening, leaders? What the crap is going on in this land? Where is the local content that this nation should have been grabbing onto? Where is it? Then we turn to food and beverages and things like that. We are the ones who are supposed to be providing these type of goods and services to them under the umbrella of this local content. And I am told that the oil companies are importing a simple thing like water and beverages? What becomes of banks DIH? What becomes of DDL? What, they don't provide beverages? And this is what is taking place and being allowed to happen. When you import stuff, there's a huge cost there. Take for example a bottle water in Guyana, maybe $50. When you import a bottle of water from wherever, it's $300. And Guyana, you need to know that you is the one who is paying for all these expenses. You need to understand that you are footing the bill. At the end of the day, it comes out of our cost oil. Every single cent these people spend, it's coming back to us in our hands to pay. Locals getting what? What are we getting? These things irk you. These things pain you to listen when you understand these things. And our leaders are busy talking about modernization of Guyana. What are you going to modernize? What are you guys going to modernize? With what? What is there coming to us? Yesterday we carried a headline, by 2025 we will have 20 billion owing to ExxonMobil. And that's only in the oil sector. I am talking now about what is there to come, what is being chalked up on an hourly basis to us as expenses. What's supposed to be fall under this context of local content. I stand up on the road there every night, right in front of the Kaieteur News, and I see these people. I stop one of the truck when I see a number of steel casing, not steel casing, sorry, cement casing, cement, just a simple cement. What we just use to put on a bridge. You know, you're building a bridge and you build a cement casing so that the water can pass. Well, they use those cement casing in which they drop the pipes in to the ocean. These goddamn thing is being imported into this country, Guyanese. These things are imported in which every little cement shop can make these things and bring in a few dollars in their pocket. And mind you, you need to understand that we can do it for less than half the price. Instead, our leaders, these morons, is allowing these people to import these things. So what you're doing, you're fattening other people's country and their pockets, and our pockets are drained, and we are left with our mouths open. Come on, leaders, come on, guys, we got to do better than this. We have to do better than this. I saw that they're bringing in some steel. It's something where you sit on. It's a simple thing, man. I'm not a welder, but I can put together that thing for nothing. And they bring it as a manufactured piece, a whole piece. When I look at it, it's bigger than a container. Imagine you importing a few steel that can be welded and put together here. Bigger than a container, you importing those things. If you guys don't understand what I'm saying, the freight alone, importing that single piece of a few iron welded together, is more than $2,000-3,000 US, because it's more expensive. It's more expensive. Definitely, it's more expensive to bring that, because that's bigger than a 40-foot container. The freight alone, I'm not talking about the manufacture or the fabrication of this thing, you know. Guys, I want you to understand. I'm not talking about the fabrication of it. It can be fabricated right here. And the freight alone, just to bring it, I'm not talking about cost, to make it in wherever country they're making it and bring it. But I'm seeing that these things are being imported. The freight alone, I did my little homework and calculation on it. And we can build that, and the freight money alone, we can make a profit on that. Instead, we are paying 15 times on a piece of equipment, a piece of manufactured steel that any workshop, a Lall workshop or a Nelson workshop can build these things. So what kind of business we really running, man? Are we really looking out for locals? Is this local content that they talk about mean anything for us? Do they really want to help the Guyanese people? Do they want to give you a few dollars in your pocket? No. When they do things like this, you can't get anything. There's nothing there for you. And guess what? We have to foot that bill. We have to foot that bill. They're talking about that. They're talking about airlines, and they're boastful. These morons boastful and saying, you see how much airline coming in here? American airline, Eastern airline, you name, Delta, JetBlue. My God, these guys are morons. They just saying how much coming in. Do you know why they're coming in? They're coming in to rob us. They're coming in to cheat us. They're coming in to take from us where we should have been getting. You know, it irks me so much. We had Caribbean airline running. The only airline that was the savior for this country. Since I know myself, I used to fly with that 25 years ago, 30 years ago. That was the savior. Because everybody come and went away and disappeared. Suddenly you find oil. Guyana finds oil and everybody coming in here. You know who's paying for them to come in here? I want my member of parliaments them to listen and understand. You know who's paying for them? We are paying for them out of our oil profits. Whether it be royalty or profits, we are paying for them. And we did a story on that subject matter, in which we spoke about American airline first class ticket was 4,000 US and change.
Right.
Right? When Caribbean airline first class ticket was $900. Why you think they want to fly with American Airlines? Because Guyana has to pay fare. And it's profitable. If they bring in 4 first class passengers, and this is how I want you guys to understand it. If they bring in 4 first class passengers at that price, it pays for the plane come. And if they take out 4, it pays for the plane go back. So if they bring 50 passengers, only 4 pays them to come and go back. So you see what's happening? So they could fly with 4 passengers and make money. They're good to go. What you call that? How do a nation accept things like this? How our leaders is allowing this to happen? Something is definitely wrong in our leaders, the way they are approaching and the way they are handling this oil business. And let me repeat, the oil sector, we have so much oil. We have so much oil, Kemol, Shakima, Kevin. We have oil. The amount of oil we find, every home should have been getting at least $500 to $1 million a month. That should have been posting home to us. How can that happen? when we allowing all these slips and slides and giveaway to happen? Could somebody explain that? You figure where you understand where I'm coming from? I hope Guyana is listening. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. There's nothing there for you. And there's nothing there for you. The bills is what is coming to us. What will be coming out of your pocket. Meaning, if you pay a high bill, what is there for you? You will get a couscous. When I was growing up, I learned the word couscous.
So right at this point, we will be taking a very short commercial break, but we'll be right back with the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio. So guys, we want to hear from you, our local content, or Guyanese. You can text us on 62222, or you can WhatsApp us on 62222. We will not be taking any phone calls this evening. We just want you to text us and you send your questions and whatever comments you would have to make about the content of the show. Over to you, Mr. Lall.
Thank you, Shaquille. I would like, the reason why we're not taking telephone calls tonight is because we don't want to waste too much time. The guys only give me an hour on the radio, and we have decided, a few friends have said to me, Glenn, drop the telephone calls and talk. Let's talk. So people can understand where and what is happening. Tonight we are discussing local content and what local content means to you and us. I would have talked a few things that we lose out on, and I want to continue. I want to continue by saying we talked about a few bills. We talk about the bills and we talk about the services. Let me continue by saying that our politicians are saying no laws were broken. And laws and laws and laws. The Petroleum Act and tax laws are so outdated and flaunted that they're just giving away Guyana. That is a topic we can talk a whole 10 hours on. But I raised it because you need to know that these are things we need to fix. And we need to fix it like 10 years back, not tomorrow, not the next day. We need to fix those things like 10 years back. The PPP, the PNC, and the KFC have done nothing. These guys have done nothing to bring about changes that will benefit us.
So can I ask, what about Guyana's local content policy? Does it have strict provisions that protects locals, that gives locals first preference?
Oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful question. Shakima, the coalition government brought in a man named Anthony Paul from Trinidad, a Trinidadian brother, who would have did local content in which it benefited tremendously in the countries and some of the African nations. Very smart, very respectable, very decent, very honest man. I met him. I love him like a brother, that I end up hiring him to come to Guyana to lecture to the Kaieteur News staff. I I invited the entire media in Guyana to come and listen what this man have to say about our oil sector. And well, a few of them came. But when this guy was hired and come here by the coalition to put together the local content policy for this country, to which we can benefit, you know what the coalition did? They fired that man. They took away his contract. Not before this man prepared a draft paper of the local content and hand it to them. Every piece of provision this man put in that document handed to the coalition government. Guess what happened? They went and hired an ex-employee of ExxonMobil that worked over 40 years with Exxon to come and put together a local content to benefit Guyana. You believe this madness? This is not madness. This is beyond madness. That a government hired a brother, a Trini brother, who has over 40 years experience in this business to come and fix Guyana's local content policy, took it, keep it there, and go and hire a man who work with the oil company to put together a local content policy for me and you. Whose interest did you think he put together a local content for? Well, let me tell you what he did. That guy removed every single provision that would have benefited me and you, Guyana. He took it out and replaced those provisions that benefits ExxonMobil. You hear that, Kemol? Guys, you hear that? When you listen, when you understand these things, it sick your stomach. The man, and guess what? I took those provisions what that man presented to Guyana, our Trini brother, and I ran them side by side every single day so that all Guyana can see. I said, listen, this is what Anthony Paul said Guyana must do, in which we can benefit, and this is what this man, his name is Michael Warner. Michael Warner put the complete opposite. It's there in the newspapers.
Maybe
I don't remember all the provisions, but Kemol, if you can pull them up, we can talk about them. It is sickening.
Specifically, I can point to Mr. Anthony Paul. He had crafted a policy so as to allow Guyana to fully scrutinize the local content commitments of the oil companies. But what Mr. Warner did after he came in was that he put confidentiality provisions in the policy so that certain reports could not be analyzed by us. And why would you want to have confidentiality provisions?
I remember that provision as you speak. Our brother from Trini says a report should be submitted on every action of the oil companies as to who they hired, how much locals they hired, what they did to what locals got in terms not only of jobs but the cash. How much money Exxon really paid to Guyanese in cash and the locals here, and juxtapose that to the foreign companies. And this man changed it. He changed it, and they put confidentiality clause to say that no, ExxonMobil mustn't send no report to us. The nation must know about what they do and how they do it. The report must only go to the minister. To the minister. And if the minister fails to tell us, he will tell us. You see that nonsense going on? So they're working with Minister. Then I work with we the Guyanese people. And that is one of the provisions that Michael Warner, that works for Exxon, put in it. Change every single thing. I should have made some notes. I should have jotted down those provisions. But everything in that local content policy does not benefit us. It benefits all the foreign companies.
So what about the monies that ExxonMobil say they spent on local content? Is there any way that for us to monitor that? Because I could remember the last time they said they spent US 70 million on local content, but did they provide any evidence to show that they actually spent this?
That's right. They keep handing you bills, and you have to pay the bills because they don't have to tell you who and how they spend money. They just hand you the bills. Listen, in first quarter, we spent $70 billion. $70 billion. And you have to pay it. No explanation. Glenn Lall didn't get nothing. Shakima Day didn't get nothing. Kemol King didn't get anything. Neither did Kevin get anything. They don't concern. They don't care. So the thing, it's mind-boggling. It's bothering me to know that who is authorizing all these things? Who is looking at all these costs? We already have pre-contract cost, a little $450 million. 10 years now we check it. And we can't uncheck it. When are we going to check the billions? And every minute that I speak, a bill is being bundled up in a file to hand to us as morons. We are morons. We have to take it, shut up, and pay. This is what is happening. This is what is happening to this land.
All right, just a reminder that you can text us, you can WhatsApp us on 6222222. We already have a few questions coming in, and someone would like to know if we can share some faults with the PPP Exxon 2015 contract.
Okay, the 2015 contract.
Yeah.
Let me just make a correction if that person has a misconception. There's an Exxon 2016 contract, and that was signed by the coalition government, not by the PPP.
Well, I think the person wants to know what are some faults in the contract, if you can touch on that.
There's so many things, there's so many faults in that contract. In the entire contract from the beginning. From the beginning, the PPPC signed on the contract was a huge mistake. And instead, the coalition go in, and instead they correct the faults and mistakes in which Guyana should have been raking in a significant amount that could have lifted us out of this poverty we're living in. They gladly and happily said, well, we signed the contract and we move on from 1% and we carry to 2%. 2% that we settled for. And they were so happy to tell this nation. Raphael Trotman is the one that signed it. He was proud. The coalition was proud to say you signed on to 2%. And if you jump on the internet, you can see that not a single contract on earth resembles Guyana's contract. Nobody, no country in the globe has accepted 2% contract. And these are our leaders. These are our leaders. Move PPP Tech 1 and then Tech 2. And I'm happy with that. Well, I don't believe the Tech 2. I don't want to believe that they're dumb. I don't want to believe they're naive or stupid. You read through the lines what is playing out in this land. Guyanese, read through the lines. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Any more questions?
Can I touch on another piece so that I forgot? There is rentals of buildings, rentals of land, rentals of wharves. They're renting. You hear Exxon renting here, and Exxon renting there, and Exxon is renting there. Right now Exxon is renting some land. They're about to rent not only Exxon, but oil companies renting land. And guess who? Who is renting? And this is where local content comes in. There are lots of trickery in this game. There are lots of cunningness in it, which you need to understand. They rent a piece of land from you. Exxon is not renting the land from you. No oil company is renting any land from you. Somebody else is renting it. And when they come, let's say they rent the Kaieteur building, and I say, hey, 10,000 US a month. They say, well, I'm renting it, I'm renting it for an oil company. But the oil company does not come to you. They use a middleman. The middleman is them man. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean them man in the kind of sense how you're smiling at me. So I'm talking about a middleman is in there. And he comes to Glenn Lall and says, Glenn Lall, would you like to rent this building? I say, yes, I'd like to rent it. How much you pay? Well, how much you want? And we sit down and negotiate. And I said, well, 10,000 US is good for me to go. They said, no problem. And they give me a contract, and I sign up, and I receive 10,000 US a month, and I'm happy with that. I'm jumping for joy. I am speaking I'm even praying for the oil companies to stay here. Oh, they're good people. You see, they come and rent my building. I'm getting 10,000 US a month rent. But here is the kick. Here is the kick, leaders. Here is the kick, PPP. Here is the kick, PNC. Here is the kick, AFC. Hear what is happening. Check those bills when they come to Guyana. The shell companies and the people who rent your building is not being paid 10,000 for it. They're being paid 200,000 US a month for Glenn Lall 10,000 US dollar building. Glenn Lall is getting 10,000, But look at the bill that is coming to Guyana for that same Glenn Lall's building. You shock. You would drop dead. Not only the buildings, but look at the costing that is coming into us as goods and services being rendered. Look at them, and you will see who is looking at them, Guyana. Nobody. And that's the sad part of it. Who's authorizing these things? Nobody. And that's the sad and sickening part of it. Nobody is authorizing this thing. So these guys continue to spend, and at the end of the year, or at the end of 3 years, they hand you a bill that they rented Glenn Lall building for. They pay Glenn Lall $100,000 or $200,000 US, and then they hand Guyana bill for 50 million US. Now, what is going on there? And that's the business game. Does Irfan Ali understand this? Does Jagdev understand this? Granger Joharman understand this? Who's checking? Who's authorizing? Now, if you're doing business with me, you gotta come and ask me. I gotta authorize this thing. Well, I'm going to rent the airport. Well, how much you're paying them? You have to agree. And nobody agreeing to these things. But a bill will be coming to us. Hence I'm saying these things. I just want to wake up our leaders.
Okay, we have a comment on the Facebook Live from Kiana Wilberg, one of our journalists. She says Guyana has the responsibility to review the company's local content costs, but none of those costs have been audited to date.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Go ahead.
That's the entirety of the comment.
This is sick. This makes you sick. And guess what, Guyana? People running up and lining up for $25,000 COVID. COVID. They're running for $25,000 COVID. And pension them and give people $20,000. And then they talk about something that's about what's the figure? $9,000. 9,000 public assistance people are rowing and fighting and getting on mad about. And a barely $9,000. Isn't this sickening? What is happening in this land?
We have a
Something has to be done.
we have a short question here. Someone wants to know if it's possible for the PPP government to challenge the 2016 contract that APNU signed.
I mean, we're having a discussion about local content, but I suppose Mr. Lall wouldn't mind addressing that
Yeah, I
question.
don't want to. I love the question, but that's this change in the contract Exxon signed. They are, according to Christopher Ram last night, he says yes. There are many provisions in the law in which we can challenge them in court, but neither here nor there. The money that we will spend in court, which I do believe that we should challenge them, but that's for another day, and the lawyers. But let us stick to local content, my friend. What is there for you? What is supposed to be there for you, and what you are not getting? My colleague asked the question. She didn't ask the question. She said that all these costs that are coming in, we did not even attempt not only to authorize but to check them. And this is more sickening when you hear that.
Okay, now, one of the things we should talk about is the regulatory infrastructure that we have in place to try to make sure oil companies give Guyanese some amount of value. Many countries, what they do is they have a local content policy, and some countries go to the extent of having local content legislation. And Guyana has had in place several local content policies, which have time after time been revised. And both the coalition government and the new PPP government have said that we have to move toward local content legislation. So since the PPP government came in, one of the things they did was they appointed a local content advisory panel. And so there are a few familiar people who are sitting on that panel. One of those persons is Anthony Paul. So I suppose Mr. Law would find some amount of comfort in knowing that Anthony Paul is on that panel. Would you like to give us your view of the panel, if you think that the persons there would be able to deliver the sort of value that Guyana needs?
When I heard they announce Anthony Paul's name in that panel, I felt a little relieved. And at the same time, I became sad when I spoke to him. He says, Glenn, I am working and I can't leave where I'm working, to come right away. Because these are legislations that should have been in place 40 years ago, not only yesterday, So the longer we take to put together these legislation, Guyana loses big time. Big time we lose.
Okay. Now, one of the things that has pervaded public discussion about the local content policy is whether the private sector, whether Guyanese have been heard. So when they make local content policies, there is a process of consultation that the government has to go through. Whoever is the consultant that has to draft the policy, they have to go around and listen to certain key sections of society, make inputs. And Kaieteur News was one of the institutions that actually sent in comments, making suggestions about things that we wanted to see in the local content policy. For instance, Mr. Anthony Paul, we know and we've reported that Mr. Anthony Paul, he had inputs into Ghana's local content policy. And that policy has resulted in Ghana being highly successful. They have had a high level of local penetration into the oil sector in terms of goods and services. So what Kaieteur News did was find some of those provisions that we thought would be best, and we suggested them during the consultation process to the Department of Energy. But one of the things that happened, and we've also reported this, is that those suggestions were ignored. And we've heard this private sector organization and this private sector person saying, we made suggestions too, but we didn't see it reflected inside the policy. And I remember we would have had public sessions with the private sector commission, with the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And some of the things they talked about, like demanding that a local content policy has penalties, those things you did not see in the local content policy when it came out. So there is this over-looming question of what is the point of holding these consultations if you're not going to listen to the private sector?
Correct. Correct.
Yes.
I recall. I remember that story. The Ghana local content policy give the percentage of workers. I recall that figure. It was 86% of the locals in Ghana were forced to were given work by the oil companies.
Yes.
All because these people had a decent policy in place, a policy that benefits the people of Ghana, and that's what we were asking for in this country. Let us have a local content policy in which we can have a level playing field, in which Guyana can benefit rather than Guyana lose.
Okay. Mr. Lall, what I'd like to do is ask you about some of the personalities on the local content panel that we have right now, and perhaps you can give a review whether you think they have a valued position on the panel. So let me just tell you all of the persons who are there. There is the one and only Anthony Paul. We have the trade unionist, Mr. Carville Duncan, a chartered accountant, Mr. Floyd Haynes, the former Energy Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Kevin Ramnarine, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Carl Greenidge, and the chairman of the panel is the president of the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association, Mr. Shyam Nokta. Do you approve of all of the persons on this panel?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think some of them will work in the best interest of this country.
Could you elaborate a little?
I believe, and I could call his name. I believe Carl Greenidge is not good there. He will not work in the best interest of this land, because when he was Foreign Affairs Minister, he was one of them that was extremely critical in the beginning of Kaieteur News, when we began to spew out these oil articles. A matter of fact, the guy said that I'm a racist, right? But they are. Ramnarine is a smart guy. I met him. I chatted with him a little. Very wonderful man there. Shyam Nokta would have been around. I guess he would have learned a lot. But there are others there shouldn't be there. And Kemol,
yes.
I don't think you should have just 5-6 people or 8 people on board here.
Okay.
We should have no less than 15-20 people, and people with the kind of wisdom, the expertise, right, to safeguard Guyana, to put Guyana, hey, you're there, you're up top there. Some of these people will not work towards our benefit. No, they wouldn't. And the reason why I singled out Carl Greenidge, when I heard he was appointed, I'm saying not again. I told you guys in several meetings that this is one of the guys who was so livid with the Kaieteur News, talking anything about Exxon. I am like, I asked the question many times in this office. Whose interest this man is looking after? Who is he really looking out for Guyana, or he's looking out for those people? And maybe, who knows? I don't know what is playing out. But I am one, I could boldly tell you, I don't agree with him there. He should not be nowhere close making any decision for Guyana. So back to the panel, we should not have just 4 or 5 people. We should have a wide range of expertise to sit down and say, this is what good for Guyana. This is what will benefit Guyana. You know, you gotta have people who have love for people and Guyanese. And next thing, we should have one panel for that. We should have a separate panel to look into these bills that is coming to us. We should have a panel of no less than 200 people sitting in a special building just to deal with these things. One Guyanese or one man or one woman on this project. One man, one woman on that project. We should have these people there. We have enough wealth to hire a fleet of experts to come in and check and to authorize and to look into these type of bills that coming into us. Instead, Jagdeo said, well, he liked for the thing sequential, in a sequential manner. When I heard that word, I just want to vomit, man. Sequential manner. You know, it's like, and he now checking the books for 2015. Just at 450 million. That will take maybe 10 years. When are we going to get down to the real money? When is he going to talk that we are approving these spendings? That's the kind of thing people want to hear. People want to hear about where the next bread and butter is coming from. Mr. Jagdeo? Mr. Joseph Harman? Don't tell us you're doing things in a sequential manner. Sequentially. Come on, nobody wants to hear that. Only a fool wants to listen to you with these type of languages. People wants to know, are you checking? Are you there looking? Are you watching?
Okay, so the local content panel that we have right now, they're due to produce their first report actually this month. So we expect to hear from the Ministry of Natural Resources what that panel has come up with, which would inform the local content legislation that we have soon. And I believe, Mr. Lall, that was pertinent to this conversation about interrogating the people on the panel, specific to Mr. Greenidge. We had carried some stories. We reported on statements made by Mr. Jan Mangal on Mr. Greenidge himself. And he said that Carl Greenidge displayed the most resistance to the disclosure of the ExxonMobil contract and the $18 million signing bonus.
You know what I
So
said?
I'm going to put this information out there, and I guess, Guyana, you can decide how you feel about Mr. Greenidge on that panel. This contract was hidden from the public for a very long time, as well as the signing bonus. And when the contract was finally released, then we actually got to see, and you can tell from our reporting that this contract is substandard through and through. And on the topic of the signing bonus, I think you really have to ask yourself, if your country receives money and your leaders seek to hide it from you, money that was supposed to go directly into the consolidated fund was put into a separate account and hidden from the people. So this is what hangs over the heads of some of these persons who have been entrusted by Guyanese to manage your wealth, and this is what they have done. So I'll leave it to the listeners and the viewers to decide whether they approve of Carl Greenidge on the local content advisory panel.
Let me add a little to that. I was told that Carl Greenidge, and I have no reason to doubt, because the way he handled and the way he treated us as a newspaper when we were reporting, some of the things he said to us and his actions, I believe that he played a major role in that 2016 signing of the Exxon deal. And let me repeat, Kemol, so you will understand what I'm saying. Let me repeat this, Guyana, so you can read between the lines. Raphael Trotman said on umpteen occasions that he was directed and instructed to sign that contract. He's still to tell the nation who instructed and who directed. And I must tell you that former President Granger, I believe in my heart, did not even had a clue as to that contract sign. So read between the lines, through the lines, who were the people that instructed and directed Raphael Trotman, the then Natural Resources Minister, to sign that 2016 deal. That, I don't want to use the word, but you know the word in front of that deal, what I want to say. And I say it many times in front of my staff when we have our editorial meetings. I know this is the radio and I don't want to use the word. But when the man came out umpteen times and said, I was instructed and directed, and the president of the day, a matter of fact, President Granger didn't even know that they signed the contract. That is what I was told by somebody very senior. President Granger did not even know that the signing bonus, we got a signing bonus. He didn't know.
Well, didn't he take responsibility for
Yes.
it?
Yes. It's only a decent individual will step up and say, listen, you know what? Guyana, I am taking the blame, it's my fault. But the man didn't know. He did not know. Remember when we asked Jordan, what Jordan said? Jordan played magic. He played a con man. You know how con people play game? That's the game he played. He said, well, you guys didn't ask me if I received 18 million. You guys asked me if I received 20 million. So I know I didn't receive 20 million. That's the minister who's supposed to tell this nation that you collected money for signing bonus. But the man said you didn't ask him the right question. And that's some of the ways these leaders come when they come on to you. There's a trick question. And they come cunningly and say, well, had you asked me if I received 18? I would tell you yes. But you asked me if I received 20. That's the kind of nasty games our politicians is playing with you. As a young reporter, you know that. If you don't ask me how much money I collect exactly, I say, no, I didn't collect that. I didn't collect 20 million.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Lall.
Yes.
Because you appear to praise the former president, Mr. Granger, for releasing the contracts and for taking the responsibility. What would you have done in a position where something like that comes out, where officials that you have responsibility over, as Mr. Granger would have, hid $18 million from a country and went to such lengths to keep it hidden from them? If you found out that your officials were involved in something like that was perceived to be corrupt, how would you have handled it?
They would have been in jail by now. And they would have never able to come out to have a public job anymore, much as be a politician today. No. When you do things like that, when leaders do things like that, how can we trust them? How can you trust them? You know, you guys come in every day from press conferences and with stories, and I hear you. I feel your pain. I feel you guys' pain when you come in, and when we discuss these issues, man, it pains us all.
But so the question that follows for me is, that's how you would handle it, and you're seeing how the former president handled it. But you're praising him for how he handled it.
I didn't praise him for how he handled it. Leaders handle things differently. They have different reasons and their own integrity or what they stand for, what they believe in. Their actions speak volume. And I left that for the Guyanese people to judge them. You judge people as to their actions and and what they say and what they do. I praise President Granger for one thing, and I am proud of him for that one thing. Just one thing. Made that contract public, and I will die. I'll go down to my last breath. Had we allowed the PPP to see this contract, Guyana would have never known nothing. All we would have been sailing through. We would have never known anything about this contract. Had we allowed, if there wasn't President Granger sitting at that meeting, this contract that he released would have never come out. And I could tell you guys this much, that none of them that sat in that meeting, wanted President Granger to make that contract public. And Carl Greenwich was one of them. Yes.
So there you have it. We're coming on to the last few minutes of our show here. So right now we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with closing statements. Welcome back to the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion thus far. And remember, we're talking strictly about local content. Kemol, I believe you have a question for Mr. Lall?
Yes, we have one question from Kiana Wilberg, and this is feeding off the conversation that we were having about interrogating Mr. Granger's response to the actions of his ministers. Kiana says he made the contract public, but are you proud of his silence after everything was exposed about the contract? The contract is out and he stood by as president and did nothing to change it. Would you like to respond?
How would you respond to that?
Oh, you know, when I listened to former President Granger's first television interview, in which he said, these are his exact words, I don't believe that such a big company like ExxonMobil will do anything to tarnish their character. Right there and then I said, God help Guyana. This is the president saying that he don't believe that ExxonMobil will do anything to tarnish their character. Right then and there, I said, oh my God, we are dealing with a naive individual. We're dealing with an individual who know the oil industry, who didn't read much on the oil sector, what oil companies would have done in the world, and they're here in your hands. And sometimes, Kemol, I don't think he knew during to his tenure what was playing out. I don't think he know many of the things that I'm talking about here now. Because, like I said, if you ask the 65-member parliament that sit in parliament presently now, if they knew what I say here tonight, I don't believe 10 of them understand. Because you can only understand business if you grow up in it, if you're born in it. And all of these member partners, they never run a cake shop. You understand? So what about running business? So as much as Kiana would like to say he sat there and didn't do much, I would want to say that the poor fella didn't even know much.
But
He was just only depending on what they tell him, what they advise him. And to the question, I could tell you that they all advise him against releasing the contract. But the guy still went ahead and released the contract. He said the people of this nation ought to and must know what is in there. So at least you got to give the man credit. Hadn't he really released that contract, 50 years, 60 years from now, we would have never known what's happening. We would have never been sitting here talking to Guyana. There are several contracts in the world. Trinidad and Tobago learned of their contracts when the oil done. Not me saying this. Keith Rowley said that. Many countries across the world haven't seen their oil contracts, and they're in the oil business for 40, 50, 60, 70 years because of confidentiality clause. Right now, the bridging deed is being hidden from us. Are we going to get that? Ask the PPP if they're going to give us that. We need to see that. This nation needs to see that. The bridging deed between the 1999 to the 2016. That is being kept by a man named Sir Srirat Ramphal. They choose to give him, he's the broker, he's in between, and they're not releasing that. Come on, man.
Okay.
What are you hiding? What would you want? What are you hiding from us? We need to see it. We need to know what is inside that document, and we have to push for that.
Okay, so if I get your assessment of Mr. Granger correctly, you think he had good intentions, he's good, but that he was not competent.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe his intentions were good, but he was misled into so many things.
We have another question?
the final question for Mr. Lall. Someone wants to know if there's a certain cartel in the government running Guyana's oil resources.
You know, sometimes I think that it's not a cartel.
What is it?
This is a mafia gang. When you look back at the things that is coming out daily, and all these leaders sitting quiet, I want to think that there's a mafia ring running this country. Yes, it is. It resembles a cartel. It resembles a cartel in which they are the only players, and they choose who to be in the ring and who not to be in the ring. Definitely, they don't want us in part of playing. We discussed tonight about local content, and come the next program, I want to dig a little deeper.
Into the mafia.
More shocking than tonight. In the realm of local content, it will shock you. How you just join us here? It will shock you to hear what I have to say more on local content. This is just a portion of local content we talk here. It's deeper than this. It's huge. It's bigger than this. So that you, Guyana, can understand. Thank you. Finish?
All right. This brings us to the end of the Glenn Lall Show. Please join us again on Wednesday, and we're going to have another fruitful discussion about yet another topic that is related to the management of your wealth. I am Kemol King.
I am Shakima Day.
And I am Glenn Lall.
Good night.
Before I go, I just want to tell you thank you for listening. And if you would have missed this segment or the whole program, we will be re-airing it on the radio station tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. So you can tune in, and whatever you missed out on, I hope you can grab it there. Thank you and have a good night, Guyana.